where the lies are being spread all over the place. But the president going to Capitol Hill yesterday trying to resolve this through Congress, he's not going to be able to do it. Congress is never going to agree on anything. And the president's going to have to solve this himself like he did with everything. Otherwise, you're going to get to repeal and replace and have that fail. Because the Democrats have no incentive to solve this. They just want it to keep going on so every day they can have images of children crying, even though their parents broke the law. And by the way, I would like to see the same cameras in, let's see, Detroit, Chicago, Miami, Portland, Maine, Billings, Montana, Cheyenne, Wyoming, or in Walter Jones City. You can even go to, Currituck. And if somebody breaks the law and they're arrested with minor children, guess what happens to their minor children while they're processed? They're taken away and put in child services in a holding facility. They're put in child services. I mean, that's U.S. law. I don't like it, but I'm as interested in poor people in the country who get arrested for something, can't make bail, and they take their children away to God knows where. And then ever try to get them back? Go on Facebook and put a Facebook thing out there and say, hey, do you know anybody whose children were taken to child services? How hard is it to get them back? And wait till you see what comes back. Nobody cares about that. No, that's fine. Take them. These are just poor people with no money for lawyers and no money in the system. These are not good for TV. These are not good for getting votes. What's good for getting votes is at the border saying their children are being ripped away. Of course, they're not being ripped away at the border because if they were at the border, they wouldn't be illegal. It's only when they cross the border illegally and don't go to the port of entry and claim asylum legally. We've been over this for 3 days. But the lies continue. So let's find out what the president had to say and what the solution is. And we're going to go to Congressman Walter Jones, Republican, 3rd District, North Carolina. He represents North Carolina's Outer Banks. Got a huge district, goes all the way from Ocracoke Island and goes all the way up to Chesapeake, Virginia, all along the Outer Banks and the coast a little bit inland. Walter Jones, Congressman, great to have you with us, sir.
John, thank you very much. It's certainly an interesting time to be in Washington, and we've got more problems than we have solutions. So we keep asking God for guidance.
What did the president say yesterday, and how was the reaction?
It went all over the board, from talking about North Korea and the success he felt he had in North Korea to talking about doing away with Obamacare, and then he talked about the tax cut, and it just went all over the board. And, of course, he did. Let me be fair about it. He did mention the issue that is taken front page on the news, children being separated, which he said he did not like that, but we had to enforce the law, which you just said a few minutes ago. And he's hoping that one of the two bills, he didn't specify which one, but hopefully one of the two bills in front of the House tomorrow, I think, would pass. And then he made a comment about Mark Sanford that made me mad as hell. And he made fun of Mark losing his race, which I thought was very unnecessary.
Congressman Jones, have you looked at either of the two bills, and could you lend your backing to either of them?
Well, the first bill by Bob Goodlatte is probably the bill I will support. I cannot support the leadership bill. I think it goes too far. And we still have, with the Goodlatte bill, I think it moves in the right direction. It's not perfect, but it moves in the right direction. But they were whipping last night, and I don't know. We have a conference at 9 today, which I'll go to, and I'm sure the leadership will tell all of us where we are.
Congressman Walter Jones, you said the leadership bill goes too far. Can you elaborate on that? Too far in what?
Well, it deals with the DACA issue. The Goodlatte bill is not a pathway to citizenship, but it is an option that they can stay in this country. and every 3 years they have to report where they are and that kind of thing. And my staff and I are going through these bills now, and to me, what needs to happen, instead of a pathway to citizenship, you're talking about well over 1 million people. I would rather have the Goodlatte position, because what it does, it still lets them stay here in a very positive way, and yet they are not given citizenship, which I think is wrong.
So just your take, I mean, you've been there a long time. You kind of know instinctively what's going on. Does the Goodlatte bill have any chance at all of getting a majority of House members?
Probably slim, but I would say even the leadership bill, the second bill, probably doesn't have a great odds of it passing either. The Democrats will not support either one of them.
So what do the Democrats want?
I think they want to see the chaos that we see on TV every day. I think it's become a political issue, probably for both sides, to be fair about it. But I think the Democrats are kind of watching the Republicans continue to make the news, and it's not always positive.
So what you're saying is the Democrats have no political incentive to solve this crisis because it's benefiting them politically, and so they would rather just see it go forward without really solving it. So on one hand, they scream about the children like Jerry Nadler did with his fake and phony narrative there on the House floor. They scream about the children, but then when offered a legislative pathway to fix it, they're not going to vote for it because they want to exploit the children's situation in order to get more votes. Is that right?
John, I think you're 100% correct, and that's it. This issue needs both parties to address it and come together and find some solution. And as long as we play this political game of the Democrats watching the Republicans squirm, then we're not going to make a whole lot of progress. But to me, I just think as a man of faith, we've got to find a common thread. And so far, I don't think we've found the common thread.
So, Congressman Walter Jones, you've not found the solution here. The Democrats are not going to be – they basically just want open borders. I mean, I guess what the Democrats want is catch and release or don't catch at all. Just let them go, I guess. I mean, that's been their policy under the table for a long time. By the way, backed by many of your Republican colleagues that get their money from Goldman Sachs, Lower Manhattan, and those other moneyed interests in Wall Street that want cheap labor. So everybody has been looking the other way, Congressman, for a very long time, and now we have this crisis. The president said he would support either bill. Was he questioned about if neither bill can get the necessary votes to pass to get to the Senate? Does the administration have a plan B? Well,
in fairness, last night they did not permit any questions from the membership. The microphones were set up. They usually set two up, one on each side. And I thought there would be questions, but the president talked for 45 minutes. And about 6:35, Kathy McMorris Roger broke it up. So no one of the membership had any opportunities to question the president, which I think was wrong, quite frankly.
Is the president scheduled to come back?
Not as this morning. I might hear something at the conference, but I don't think so.
We're with Congressman from North Carolina, Republican 3rd District, Walter Jones. We're trying to talk him into not retiring in 2020, which is going to be Trump's reelection. We want him to run again so everybody can win and we can have a big party in his district. So we're going to keep trying to talk him out of it. I'm going to talk you out of it. It's my mission to get you there for one more term.
If we ever had a voluntary public finance, then I would reconsider. But that system ain't going to change. They love money up here.
You got that right. It is the most corrupt town in America. I tell you what,
it is, John.
Can I just commiserate a little bit? When you get in your car to go home, right, after spending the week there, and you get out of the district, don't you like feel as soon as you get out and back into your home state, you can actually start to breathe? I mean, don't you have a sense of just like, I got to get out of there, or is it just me?
John, I will tell you, when I get south of Fredericksburg, head toward Richmond, I get that feeling.
I mean, it's the exact same I do. And we take the same route. You go down 95 and get down towards Rocky Mount, and I go on 64 and go to the beach. But I was in Rocky Mount this past weekend for 3 days. My son had a baseball tournament there. And what a beautiful city that is. That is a really neat place.
It is. How did your son's team do?
Won the tournament. Yes, won the tournament. Got the plaques and the banner. Yeah, but we stayed at the Doubletree Hotel, which was right there, which was overrun with baseball players, children of all ages, 8, 9, 10, whatever. So we had a good time on Father's Day weekend. Happy Father's Day, by the way, sir.
Same to you and everybody listening. That's what it's all about, John, is the children's future. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you saw him change the subject a little bit. The article in the Washington Post about this young man who was killed, lived in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And his front page article, you might want to pick it, is the 27th of May, and it says, imperfect answers. The son was killed in action. His parents asked why. I did a floor speech yesterday, and I used excerpts from this article about how the parents didn't quite understand why we're still in Afghanistan and what he died for. I railed against Paul Ryan yesterday for not letting us have a debate on Afghanistan.
What did he say?
Well, he doesn't respond. I'm writing a letter to him now.
He's not going to respond.
No, and he won't respond to that. But I'm closing.
And you know
article.
What? If you keep the House, Kevin McCarthy, if he's the speaker, he's not going to respond either. I tell you this though, Jim Jordan of Ohio, if he gets to be speaker, he'll respond in a nanosecond. He'll get that done. Yep. No question about it.
He's already told me if he wins and we hold the House, that he will agree to let us have a debate on Afghanistan the first 2 months that he's Speaker of the House.
I believe him. Congressman, I mean no disrespect to the former First Lady, Laura Bush at all, but once you weigh in on public policy, then you become, fodder for debate, right?
Yep.
So the former First Lady, very nice, I've met her several times, a very nice woman, great mom, great First Lady, all that, but she sends a tweet out, very critical of President Trump, and she says that watching these children be separated from their parents really breaks my heart. And I look at this tweet, and I tweeted her back, and I said, in all due respect, Laura, you know what breaks my heart? The fact that your husband launched 2 unnecessary wars in perpetuity, one of them with false evidence, with no WMDs, and as a result of this, hundreds of thousands of people all over the world and Americans, tens of thousands of U.S. men and women have been maimed or come home in body bags. Children have been blown up. Cities have been destroyed, all for nothing, all for a false pretense. There were never any WMDs. That was a lie. And I said, all those people who have suffered from your husband's wars, which we're still in the 2 of them, breaks my heart. I mean, I am sick of the Bush's sanctimonious nonsense, and they are not held to account for either of these wars, neither of them. And there were no WMDs in Iraq. There was no evidence of them. They never found them. I still can't figure out what they did with that. And now we're in Afghanistan in what seems like a perpetuitous state. People still dying there, all because of George Bush. My question is, why doesn't your heart break over that, Laura Bush? Is it just me?
I want to commend you on your response to her tweet for this reason. Bush and Cheney have never apologized to the families whose children were killed in Iraq or Afghanistan. Never apologized. And I've written well over 11,000 letters to the families in my way of apologizing for voting to give Bush the authority to go into Iraq.
Well, you know, there's an accountability that I think comes with politics, and neither Bush or Cheney, you're right, have ever apologized for the drastic mistake in either judgment they made or perpetuating the WMD's lie, which there were never any WMDs there. They never existed. I mean, the guy, Saddam Hussein, didn't have a pot to piss in. I mean, the country was broke. I mean, they ended up capturing the guy in a hole with a piece of cardboard over it, and he was eating cans of tuna fish. I mean, there were no WMDs. They didn't go to Syria. They didn't get shipped out of the country. They never existed. And I don't think anybody in the administration ever believed they existed, but it was a reason for us to go to war, bang our chest, and perpetuate the military-industrial complex. And look at where that war's gotten us. I mean, that's got to be one of the most disastrous decisions made in the history of the Republic ever.
John, that is so true. And I met with General Zinni, United States Marine Corps general, who had the responsibility of overseeing that area of the world. And he told me when he came back home with about 2005, 6, or 7, he said, we knew that I was in constant contact, talking about Zinni, with Richard Butler, UN inspector. And he said, we knew that Saddam wanted those weapons, but he did not have them. To your point, he did not have them. And so it was manufactured, and the intelligence had been manipulated to sell the American people, and that was a lie.
It was a total lie, and you look at the death and destruction that has followed it. It is absolutely unconscionable, and there is no accounting of it. There was just no account whatsoever. And so you know what? As far as the former First Lady is concerned, I'm not really interested in what you have to say or your tweets until you apologize to the American people for what your husband did. John Fredericks Radio Network. I'm out of time. I want to thank Walter Jones for being with us.
John.
More information, jones.house.gov. I'll be right back.